So here's a look at one of my favorite pizzas. It's fig and prosciutto pizza, and I'm gonna walk you through start to finish exactly how to make this recipe. So it's a little bit longer style video for those who wanna cook with me. So the first thing that you do is you wanna dice up all of your onions. You're actually going to start by making an onion garlic butter sauce. It's really delicious. So the first thing that you want to do is caramelize the onions, and you're going to throw in some garlic cloves that are diced up in there as well. So it really only takes about 5 or 10 minutes to make this sauce recipe, and it includes some oil and butter. So the next step is that you're going to heat up a skillet on the stove, like a small or medium skillet. And you're going to add these ingredients to the skillet and cook them over medium or medium-high heat with some oil in the pan. Just throw them on in there, stir it around as they cook for a few minutes. And towards the end, you're going to throw in some butter. And it kind of might look like quite a bit of butter, but that's because it's going to become a sauce that we're putting on the fig and prosciutto pizza. So you see, I put a chunk of those caramelized vegetables aside, and then I added in the butter, and that just gets all nice and melty. This is a good time to prep your other ingredients. I love dried figs. These last quite a while in the pantry, so you could make this recipe over and over. I know that's what I've been doing. So then it's time to stretch out your pizza dough. I love using like Whole Foods pizza dough or Trader Joe's pizza dough. You could also get a homemade pizza dough recipe at Sip Bite Go. And I like to just use this method. You've seen me talk about it before if you've made one of my pizza recipes. What I do is I put some flour on a large like baking sheet or butcher's block like that to stretch it out, and make sure to keep adding flour as I'm stretching out the dough. All right, so then it's time, once your dough is stretched out, to put it on a olive oil brushed parchment paper that's on a baking sheet, or you could brush some olive oil onto a pizza stone that had already been preheated in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And then after your dough is on there, put on that garlic butter sauce. Your kitchen is gonna smell so good at this point. And the first step is no toppings other than that butter sauce. That goes in the oven and bakes for 7 minutes. What you're doing is you're par baking the dough so it cooks thoroughly, because if you put all the toppings on at the beginning, they would probably burn. The cheese would be ready before the dough. So that's why we par bake the dough. Then it's time to put on the toppings. I love adding some dollops of pesto. You don't need to have it like all over, but to bite into some sections of the fig and prosciutto pizza that have the pesto is really, really nice. And then add your other toppings like some pizza cheese, any Italian blend pizza cheese, goat cheese, which is going to get really creamy and delicious. Then you can put on some of that reserved caramelized onion topping. Why not just add more flavor to this? And last but not least here, we have the prosciutto and then the dried figs. For the prosciutto, I just kind of clump them in my fingers, make little sections all over the pizza. This is kind of like a Jackson Pollock looking pizza. You just throw all the ingredients wherever your heart desires, and then you pop it in the oven. So bake fig and prosciutto pizza for about 10 more minutes. You want to just watch. You don't want the cheese to get brown, but you do want the cheese to get nice and bubbly, so it is nice and all melted together, and the prosciutto will crisp up a little bit. So like I said, this just goes into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. It bakes, it finishes baking the dough. It should all come out so perfect. It looks so delicious. Get some fresh herbs to sprinkle on top. I love having some basil or parsley. You can also use a little balsamic glaze just to finish it off. And you could print out this full recipe at Sip Bite Go. Cheers!